Hi, I'm Alexa Rousseau, and I go to Northwestern University, and I'm on the women's volleyball team. Some of the best pieces of advice I've been given from my coaches and mentors, I think I started playing volleyball and started on the Northwestern team as a freshman. So that was a little bit overwhelming at times, but it was a honor to have had that role from such a young age. But I remember my coaches were really helping me deal with all the information overload I was getting as a freshman, trying to kind of come to terms with being in college, work out all my academic things, but then also excel really well in athletics. And I think one of the greatest things I was told was to always nod, always agree, always listen to the people that are trying to work with you and try and help you. But then it's your decision to kind of decide what's important right now to help me succeed. And I think at first I struggled a lot with trying to take everything in and apply it right away when sometimes there were one or two things that I really needed to hone in on and focus on in order to be successful in that moment. But that didn't mean I forgot all the other things that I was told. It was just kind of trying to learn how to compartmentalize the information and mentorship I was getting and use that to my best ability when it was needed and when it was necessary. Some of the most important things that I focus on with training, I think for me, it was a lot about how I evolved over the years. So at first, when I got to Northwestern, a lot of that was technical things, a lot of switching some skills and kind of crafting some skills a little bit differently based on my coaching staff and how their kind of vision of what a setter looks like and what the mechanics looked like differed from my high school and club coaches. So that was one of the main things I honed in on first. And then I think after my first 2.5 years, I started to get really good at the technical things and built that muscle memory. So then after that came learning the mental side and the strategic side of the game, which is huge for volleyball and huge for setters. And that was something that I had a ton of fun with, was trying to train my brain to focus on how to win with the pieces that I have, with the players that are on my side, but then also with all the information that I'm given from the other team or the team that we're scouting. How can I use our strengths and their weaknesses to match up together? So I think that was the kind of training I had a lot of fun with in terms of volleyball. And then outside of that, a lot of it was just trying to get faster in the weight room, get stronger in the weight room, and help kind of build that stamina and endurance to be able to withstand my best performance in a 5-set match. Yes, I think at Northwestern, we place a huge emphasis on nutrition and recovery. And from that, I mean, obviously, we have a nutritionist who works with us, and we have multiple. But I also think that that message of recovery and how important it is also reiterated to us by our coaches, by our strength trainers, by our medical staff, our team trainer. So we have the messages and we have the information that we're getting on those things and how to fuel before practice, before lift, during practice, after. What does it look like for a 24-hour recovery after a game? Like, how should you be fueling your body in a pre-match meal? So we get a ton of information on those types of things, and it's reiterated to us from everyone. So I think that consistent messaging was really helpful for me at Northwestern. And I think, again, not everyone's kind of nutrition and recovery path looks the same. And I think Northwestern is really great about helping you find what works for you and your needs and maybe your restrictions or your tolerances. So I think for me, that was something huge and definitely something that I noticed a lot over time, not just with nutrition and recovery, but also the other pieces that play into that with sleep and stretching and using ice baths or other modes of recovery too that are outside of nutrition. Yeah, so I think because of my age, I was in a really weird place with recruiting. So a lot of my challenges before becoming a top recruit and before college were kind of honestly in seventh and eighth grade. So when I was in middle school, there were no rules against recruiting age and at what age you can go on unofficial visits or get offers. So I was starting my college journey, I guess we could say, but my college visits in the eighth grade. So I think one of the biggest challenges I faced was feeling that pressure of making a decision on a college when I hadn't had a day in high school yet. And I think it's crazy to think about. And it's so great now that they've kind of given girls some time to think about what they really want. And I think that was the biggest challenge for me was when I'm in seventh and eighth grade, I wanted to go to what everyone deemed as the coolest college there was. And that was just because of a lack of knowledge I had and experience I had of what I really wanted in a school and what I wanted in a college. And so I went on my visits in 8th grade, freshman year, sophomore year of high school, and I was one of the only kind of higher top 50 recruits in my class that really hadn't committed once it came to my sophomore year of high school. And so I kind of felt the pressure from that, and that was really tough. But Northwestern was actually one of the first schools I visited in 8th grade. And then I took the time to kind of try and come up with the things that I really thought I wanted in a school, what I wanted in a coaching staff, and also what I wanted in just a volleyball program. And I think when I came back and revisited Northwestern as a sophomore in high school, I realized that it had my total package of an incredibly loyal coaching staff. It was in a great location. It was kind of close to my home. But also they prioritize family here, and we're prioritizing trying to change a program. And so being someone that I felt like had the talent and the experience to really come in and try and help change a program, that was something that was really appealing to me. So I ultimately decided to commit my sophomore year of high school, which to today is still really young. But I think it was a lot of pressure being a 13, 14-year-old girl trying to make big life decisions because of kind of the pressures around me. But I think I was able to kind of take my time and not be influenced by kind of external factors so that I could really make the decision that I wanted and I loved. And I'm glad I did, because with all the transferring nowadays, I was able to stay here and wanted to stay here for 5 years. So I'm very grateful for that. I think starting out in the recruiting process, no matter where you're at, I would say the best advice I have is never be afraid to ask too many questions, because there's no such thing. I think if you're able to kind of come up with some ideas, and maybe you don't have it concrete, but if you can come up with some ideas of things that are really important to you, whether it's a family aspect, whether it's location, whether it's a degree, there are so many other things, including volleyball, but also outside of volleyball or whatever sport that you play, that go into your decision of talking to schools, visiting schools, things like that. So I think my best advice would just be ask every single question that you have, because no question is not valid, because there are certain things that you're trying to find out, because just as much as they want you, you're also going to need to know that that's the school that you want to be at too. So I think the biggest thing for me is just don't be afraid to ask questions, and then also just be open. Be incredibly open to any opportunity that comes your way, and see it out and seek it through, because you never know what could come of it. And even if it's not on the top of your list or a school that you don't know a ton about, always just see it through and talk to the coaches and go to the school if you can, because you never know what's going to happen, and you may find exactly what you wanted, a place that you didn't expect. Yeah, so I did talk a little bit about why I chose Northwestern. Again, when I was young and going through recruiting, even though I already had an offer from Northwestern, for the next 2 years, there was a Northwestern volleyball coach at every single one of my club games for the next following 2 years. And to me, that showed a ton of loyalty and a ton of patience. And I think that was something that really attracted me to this school, but also the coaching staff in particular. I loved where Northwestern was in terms of location for opportunities for internships and jobs, but also being a drive away from my hometown. So that was really important to me. And then again, going on a visit when I was 14 years old here for the first time, I was speaking with girls who were 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, and I just felt an instant click, and I felt an instant belonging. And I think that was super important to me, that even though I hadn't even committed yet, these girls were kind of bringing me in and telling me about what they wanted to do at Northwestern, and the plans they had and the goals they had and the things that they wanted to accomplish. And I think that was incredibly inspiring for me to see that, but then also be able to meet the potential recruits who kind of all were all bought in on this same vision. And it was something that I really wanted to be a part of. And it sounded super exciting to me, so I couldn't turn it down, and I loved it. There are a few things that I think have made me a better player. I think the way I look at it is I had the opportunity, and am incredibly grateful to have had a lot of change in my coaching staff and my support staff. But I think from that, I had so many different assistant coaches and now head coaches that honestly all taught me something different and helped me improve my game as a volleyball player. And I think From that, getting a ton of experience from a bunch of different people who are incredibly knowledgeable helped me most certainly improve my kind of strategic and mental side of the game, how I kind of look at the game and being able to manipulate certain parts of the game in order to help our team find success. And I think learning that and kind of seeing the game in a different way definitely opened my eyes to having more fun with it as well, which I think was really refreshing. And then also just having incredibly experienced and knowledgeable coaches come through who have helped me with my technical side of the game, getting a lot better at back setting, getting better at defense, typical things that, at least for me and some other setters, we're not the best at. So also having people who just didn't give up on me in those areas too, that was incredibly refreshing to just have someone always in my corner and being dedicated to helping me get better as well. So I would definitely say technique for sure, but definitely the strategic side of the volleyball game and seeing it from a different perspective. Well, I think we have incredible resources at Northwestern in terms of NIL, of not only opportunities for us, but people who are willing to help us find those opportunities if they don't have them right away here. And I think some of my best experiences were honestly just getting involved with some of the resources that we have and having people reiterate to me that the sky is the limit for what I want to do, and helping me kind of narrow down what my interests really are and where I would want to take NIL. And so I think for that reason, I've enjoyed working with a ton of different brands. A lot of my passions are around health and wellness and the fashion spaces. And I think the resources here at Northwestern not only helped connect me to those, like I got to do an incredible kind of day in the life with Westfield Old Orchard, the local mall around Evanston. And that was an incredibly awesome opportunity for me. I've been able to work with a spa that's in downtown Chicago that I've absolutely fallen in love with and love creating things for them. And that's led me to find great opportunities and also improve my own health and wellness, which has been really great. And then I just think one of the greatest things I've learned from using the resources at Northwestern is that you really can kind of do whatever you want with it, and not everyone's path with NIL is going to look the same. And just like all the encouragement that I've had around me to just not be afraid to reach out to companies, because a lot of times I found myself working with some bigger brands that I would have never imagined I could do something with, but all it took was me sending an email or asking a question and trying to find opportunities. So, yeah. Yes, I think some final advice I have, and I think I've realized throughout my time working with and mentoring young boys and girls who are trying to kind of make it to the collegiate level in whatever capacity they wish, is just to not give up, and that they can really achieve anything that they want if you put the work in and you just tell yourself you believe. And I'm a big believer in manifesting, and I'm a big believer in just putting your head down and working. And I think if you're able to kind of combine those things and always put yourself first and never give up on yourself, I think that would be some of the best advice I have in terms of just always trying to trek forward. And the path of success is never linear. So if there are challenges or bumps in the road, those are only going to be lessons that you can learn and get better from and have a better outcome from on the other side. So I would just say never give up on yourself, and always find lessons within failures, because the failures are going to be inevitable. Hi, I'm Alexa Rousseau, a volleyball player at Northwestern University, and you can check me out on Next Level Prep.